Okay, why am I showing the Indian flag? And why am I showing this tea? Um, this is a special route from Kerala, India. The state of Kerala. It's a very rare. Well, it's rare in the world. Obviously, it's not that rare there, but it's like a miracle cure or miracle drink. It keeps you healthy. I can even do a video about that. I've done videos about other health treatments I've had in India. But this video is not about that. This video is about cinema and cinemas. Like many people, I love cinema, and I say it's one of those terms when people say, when they say I love cinema or I love music, and when they say that, it's kind of, it's pretty clear we all love a good film, or we all love a music. So it's kind of a weird thing that we say, but I do love cinema, and I love cinemas, and I love independent cinemas, and occasionally multiplexes, and that comes into play in this video because I want to talk about my experience in India in a couple of different cinemas and a couple of different films. One being Indian, a Kannada language film, which means so it's not Hindi, not the main language. It's Kannada, which is for the state of Karnataka, which is where Bangalore is, and other cities and other towns. So yeah, we all say I love cinema. I will say one thing though. There's people that love films, but they don't like going to cinema. Not just because it's expensive, but it's a whole effort for many people. It's a big thing. It can be a big thing in a treat, or it can be a big thing in a nightmare, getting together and the funds as well and what have you. So I 10 years ago was in India, and I wanted to see a film. I never got round to doing it. I remember going to a shopping mall, which is where cinemas often are. They're at the top of a shopping mall. The same in Thailand and other countries. That's where a lot of I'm not talking about independent cinemas. I'm talking about multiplexes, conglomerate companies. And I remember going 10 years ago and not seeing a film and really kind of regretting it. I had 10 weeks in India. I was there for work, and I just never did it. And I wanted to see this film. I think I was going to see Love at Carl, and mainly because I'd heard it was not only funny and good and romantic comedy perhaps with music, I think. And yeah, I've got the soundtrack to it actually somewhere, I believe. And I really wanted to see a film, and I think the reason I was going to see that film was because also you could find it in English language in India in a cinema, in certain cinemas. It never happened for whatever reason. I remember looking, but it never actually happened. So that's why this time around in India, I'm happy to say that I finally managed to catch a film, and two different cinemas, two different films, very near the end of my stay, I suppose, this particular time. And I had treatment at the beginning of the stay, so it wasn't really the opportunity to go to the cinemas. We were only allowed out once a day in this Ayurvedic treatment place. I was in Kerala. But anyway, back to Bangalore and in the cinemas. This is why I was showing this flag at the very beginning. Excuse the marks on the screen. I thought I'd wipe them off. So yeah, there's the Indian flag. Now that played, I think that shot is actually from the second film I saw. A day later, maybe, I saw American film. I saw Green Book. Great film. I mean, I'm not sure if it was good as people said it was. It is well done. It is pretty good. So bear with me a second. In fact, just bear with me one second. Get my proper pro cleaner. Well, it's actually glasses cleaner. Anyway, so I finally went to see two films in a cinema in India. And the first one I saw, let's forget that Green Book issue story, was I wanted to see a film that a couple of people had told me about, saying yes, it's really good, and that was URI or URI Surgical Strike. Now I can actually find that a little tiny picture. It's only half a picture really. On the left here we have URI Surgical Strike or URI Surgical Strike. It's based on a true story of some events in India, and it's a Hindi film as opposed to Kannada, the language I was referring to just now. The film I did actually see was a Kannada film, and it's Bell Bottom, and it's a comedy. It's a very crazy comedy, I suppose, but I love its musical numbers. They were great, sort of almost dream sequences. But it's good. I was drifting in and out of the story myself because I was on the plot, because I was thinking about my own projects. But yeah, so the experience itself, I walked very far to find a cinema from where I was living. Now this wasn't in a shopping. I think this was a standalone cinema actually. It was surrounded by. It was in a shopping area, a shopping mall area. So anyway, I couldn't see the film I wanted to see. There's online methods to track down films with subtitles or just ones that are playing in your local cinema. But I went into the film, tea in hand. I wasn't drinking coffee at the time, and I enjoyed the experience. But first thing I will say is the reason I was showing that Indian flag at the beginning is because they play the Indian sort of anthem, or the for the country, for the pride of the country and for respect, and people stand up just like they do in Thailand for the king at the beginning of a film. Or it's actually for, I guess it's for the king and Thailand, but it's the same with India, I would say. So the film was then into play, and it was the first hour and 15 minutes perhaps, and then there was an interval. And I didn't know this, that the Indian films have an interval. I know they're long films. I thought you could just pop out when you want to. I probably heard somewhere that there was intervals in such films. Yeah, films in India. And that was a kind of surprise. So it wasn't over, which I thought, oh gosh, I hope there's only another half an hour left. I mean, I was semi-enjoying it, and I was tired as well. But the interval came, then we had another hour and 15 minutes of the film. These are the closing credits of the film. So that was that. So I still wanted to see another film, and I wanted to see an English language one, just because I wasn't really into this film. The film I wanted to see didn't have the subtitles, that URI Surgical Strike one. So I went to see Green Book, as I mentioned. Now the thing is, when I went to see the second film, I had to buy an overpriced samosa, and as everything's overpriced at the cinemas. But what was quite fortunate was the screening I picked. Bearing in mind I was coming to the end of my stay. It's in a PVR cinema. It's one of the brands there. There's Inox. There's other cinema brands, but PVR cinemas. One of the things I actually did like was these little tissues or serviettes or towels, where it says you are watching a sequel. I'm not advertising them, by the way. In other words, it's saying it's a sequel because it's going to be recycled. The paper is going to be recycled. So I've just found that amusing, good choice of wordplay. And anyway, so when I went to see this second film, Green Book, the American film, it was a very plush. This is just the standard area of the cinema. This is not the screen where I went into, which, if I've got a photo of that, which I have, but it's not great. I mean, this is inside. Now, of course, we've got those in UK, South Korea, Thailand, other countries, pretty much across the world. But that was in that screening the screening room I was actually going to see it in. So I think the tickets were a bit more, but I was just trying to see the film. I wasn't going because there's a plush cinema with all reclining seats and everything. So I went to see that. Same thing happened. Of course, the interval stood up for the anthem at the beginning. It's interesting to see how people react. In this other screening, there was a lot more international people. There were some Japanese people there. There was myself, of course. There was Indian. I suppose there was others I'm trying to think of now. I'm trying to remember now. So I had two very different experiences, both in the fact that they were two different films. One was a laugh out loud, as they say, like comedy. One was, humorous, Green Book, but one was Indian or Kannada, from the Karnataka state as opposed to Hindi. This one was American, and one was very long, one was not so long. One, of course, one had subtitles, one didn't. I can't remember if I don't remember this. If Green Book had subtitles for, no, I'm not sure. I don't think it did. So, I'm. Oh, and one more thing that I will mention about these films that I almost saw. Gully Boy, which is a very bad photo. I took it really quickly when I was looking. I almost saw two films in one night, but it just wasn't really going to happen, especially both with subtitles. But Gully Boy is another film that seems to be doing well. I think it's regarding a musician, sort of a artistic musician, like a hip hop maybe. And it's even showing in Thailand, where I am right now. And with, it's obviously very popular. And not only that, there's a lot of Indians in Bangkok, which is where I am. And, I think it's doing well internationally, that film, or at least in Asia. Again, I've lost track of what's doing well in the UK compared with foreign films, because I'm a bit out of the loop for the last couple of months. So my experience was, great. Of course, I'd do it again. I would never say no to seeing a film in another country. I am going to see a film in Bangkok, a couple of films. They've got Memoirs of a Geisha, which is an old film, oldish, not old like old. I've never seen it on the big screen. I can't even remember if I've seen it all the way through. And I'm going to see Will You Ever Forgive Me? I think it's called the English language film, at the Bangkok screening room, because the Bangkok screening room is a lovely, small, independent cinema in Bangkok. It's not one of these multiplexes. The films in, what I am realising, I suppose this is a bit like India as well, because they all have their own different tastes. We all have different tastes, and India, Thailand, and South Korea as well, they love the blockbusters, they love the superhero films. And there's superhero films here, the Marvel film, whatever it is right now. Well, in Thailand there's quite a few films. I really want to see a Thai film, but they're mostly horrors, it seems. And I'm not, they like those films. I mean, they make a lot of horrors as well. And even the one or two international films, they don't really make me want to see them. But the Bangkok screening room is fantastic. It's very near Lumpini Park in Bangkok, so Silom area, I guess you'd say, if you know Bangkok or not. But that's pretty much it. I just wanted to talk about my experience of, an Indian cinema, actually their cinema, cinemas. One last thing. I remember 10 years ago hearing a song on the radio every day and buying and finding out the name of the song so I could buy the album. Bought the album on CD, quite cheap. It's in India anyway, but reasonably cheap to me. Then buying another 3 or 4 CDs that were in this bargain basement slot of this record area or CD area of music area of a department store, buying these soundtracks. I didn't know what they were. They were £1 or 2 each, if that, and I just bought them. And now I listen to them a lot when I'm in that mood. I listen to them a lot. They're great. I found some real gems just by chance, and I want to see the films. I've got the music, but I haven't seen these Indian films. So someday, maybe I will. Someday, hopefully, I will. So that's it. That was my experience. You know, the interval was surprised. Standing up for the anthem, perhaps a surprise, but there's always there's always a lot of aircon in these places, whether it's Thailand or India and elsewhere in South Korea as well. And you have to go prepared sometimes. Sometimes places give you a blanket if you can ask, or they just give you a blanket, and some places don't, I expect. And yeah, so I wanted to talk about it. I've been meaning to speak about this for several days, of longer, if I'm being honest. And we should all be honest. So that's it. I hope you enjoyed it. If you like this video, please subscribe, or just like it. Comment if you like. I can tell you some other information about Indian cinema, Indian treatments, or Ayurvedic treatment. I've just spotted a squirrel outside. And that's it. I'm going to do, probably go off and do my yoga next, which I'm only just trying to get my head around. Okay, that's it. Thank you very much. Okay, bye-bye. I'll just finish with my tea and I'll leave it at that. And I'll just say goodbye.